Okay, let's be real for a second. Thinking about speaking in front of people whether it's just a few colleagues or a whole room, that can bring on some serious anxiety for most of us.
Well, absolutely. That heart-pounding, sweaty palms feeling, it's incredibly common.
Yeah, you suddenly feel awkward, don't know what to do with your hands. If that sounds like you, well, you're definitely not alone.
Not at all. And often I think it comes from this pressure, this idea that you have to be like perfectly polished and naturally charismatic to hold people's attention.
Oh, what if that's not quite right? The source material we're diving into today kind of flips that idea on its head.
It really does. It suggests shifting focus away from chasing perfection.
Right. Towards something maybe more achievable, like sincerity, maybe, and actual techniques you can learn.
Exactly. We're doing a deep dive into insights from winning over any audience through effective speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And our mission really is to pull out the most useful bits, the actual principles that can help you build confidence, sharpen your skills, and move past that fear to really connect.
Okay, let's get into it. The guide starts. Well, it starts internally, doesn't it? Before we even get to the how-to of speaking.
That's right. The very first thing it emphasizes, and this is foundational, is you have to believe your words actually have value
Before you even open your mouth.
before anything else. That internal conviction that what you have to say, your perspective, your information matters. That's the bedrock.
So it's not just faking confidence, it's actually feeling that what you're bringing is worthwhile.
Precisely. The source argues that this inner belief isn't just, a nice feeling. It physically translates into how you come across. The audience picks up on that sincerity, that genuine belief.
And that makes them listen more closely.
Yeah, it makes them lean in, take you more seriously. It's authenticity shining through.
That really does shift the perspective. It's less about being a dazzling performer and more about having something important to contribute and owning that.
It does.
Hmm.
And building on that foundation, the guide talks about courage. It acknowledges, look, courage for speaking isn't always just there.
No, it definitely feels like some people are just born with it, doesn't it?
Well, this source suggests it's less innate bravery and more something you cultivate. It says courage actually begins from inner self-confidence.
Okay, so how do you build that, according to the source?
It ties right back to that first point.
Yeah.
The guide basically says that recognizing the valuable things you do have to share your unique experiences, your knowledge, your story, that's what fuels courage. It grows gradually.
Ah, okay. So it's not about magically becoming fearless, but letting the importance of your message kind of push past the fear?
Exactly. And speaking of growth, the source is very clear. Becoming a good speaker. It's not like flipping a switch. It's a journey.
It's ongoing learning.
Yes, communication is framed as this endless learning process. No instant fix is promised. Every time you speak is an opportunity.
An opportunity to learn, even if it feels like a disaster.
Especially then, maybe. The guide really hammers this home. Every talk, every presentation, even just a tough conversation, is a chance to figure something out. How to read the room better, adjust your pacing, organize your thoughts under pressure.
So embracing the idea that you're always improving.
Right. Viewing each time as a lesson, basically.
Okay, so we've got this internal work, believing in your value, building courage from that, accepting it's a learning curve. But what about the actual act of speaking, getting comfortable with, doing
Yeah,
it?
that's where the guide brings in something we hear a lot, but it explains why it's key. Practice makes us confident.
The classic advice.
Yeah, but the source is firm. Nobody's just a born great speaker.
Yeah.
What looks effortless is usually built on practice, consistent practice.
Does it give specifics?
Yeah.
Because just practice can feel a bit vague sometimes.
It does. It suggests starting simple, low stakes, talking out loud to a mirror,
Okay.
recording yourself, even if hearing your own voice makes you cringe at first.
Guilty.
We all are. Or practicing with friends, family, people you trust. The point is just getting used to the sound of your voice, seeing yourself communicate.
And the source explains what that practice actually does for you, beyond just memorizing.
Ah, yes, this is important. Practice isn't just rehearsal. It makes you deeply familiar with your own voice, your rhythms, your habits. And that familiarity, it gives you a sense of control.
Control over the nerves.
Exactly.
Mm.
The source directly links that familiarity from practice to being much better equipped to manage nervousness when you're actually doing it for real.
Familiarity breeds control, reduces anxiety. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so internal foundation built, practice happening. Now, what about the message itself? What's at the core of crafting good content, according to this guide?
Simple clarity. The source is really clear on this. Creating easy-to-understand content is the absolute heart of communication. People have to be able to follow you.
Right. Brilliant ideas don't land if they're confusing. How does it say to achieve that clarity? Is it about simplifying too much?
No, not dumbing down. The guide actually says making complex things simple shows you really understand them deeply. It's a sign of mastery, not simplification.
Okay, so how?
Well, practical things. Organize your points logically. Use straightforward language, avoid jargon where you can, and crucially, give examples the audience can actually relate to.
Relatable examples are like bridges, aren't they? Helping people cross over to understanding. What about the speakers? Well, their vibe during delivery.
That brings us to a really key principle for connection. Speak from your own sincerity. It's about not putting on an act.
Don't try to be some perfect, polished speaker you saw online if that's just not you.
Exactly that. The guide literally says, don't try to be someone else, but be the best version of yourself. It argues that audiences feel sincerity almost instantly.
Even if you're not super eloquent.
Even then, when you speak genuinely from your belief in the message, even with the stumbles, it builds trust. It makes people want to listen.
That really takes the pressure off needing to be perfect, which
Well,
the source also talks about directly, right?
it does. Insight number 7 tackles that head on. Confidence doesn't mean perfection. This is a big one.
Yeah, because people often think confident speakers never mess up.
And the source says that thinking holds you back. Real confidence, when speaking, comes from self-acceptance. Accepting your flaws, your potential fumbles.
So knowing you might forget a word or not have every answer.
Yes, and when you're not terrified of making a mistake, you're free. Free to be natural, to be genuine, to have some vitality, and that authentic energy is way more engaging than some robotic attempt at flawless delivery driven by fear.
Okay, so we've covered the internal mindset, the practice, crafting the message with clarity and sincerity, accepting imperfection. How do you then actively connect with the audience while you're talking?
Right, this is where the focus shifts outward. The guide strongly argues that effective speaking means caring for your audience. It's not a performance at them, it's an interaction with them.
How do you show that care, especially when you're also trying to remember what you want to say?
It gives concrete actions. Things like actually looking at your audience, paying attention to faces, body language. Are they engaged, confused, bored?
Reading the room.
Exactly. And being willing to maybe slow down or speed up slightly based on those cues. Finding small ways for them to participate, even if it's just a rhetorical question that makes them think. The idea is showing you value them makes them feel appreciated.
And more attentive as a result.
Definitely. It makes it feel more like a relationship.
Okay, that makes sense. And what about our physical presence? How we stand, move?
That's insight 9. Use body language to enhance your words. Your message isn't just sound, it's sight too. What you do physically either supports or undermines your words.
This is the basics, like standing tall, making eye contact.
Yes, the source mentions those specifically. Standing straight conveys presence. Making eye contact, real eye contact with different people, builds that connection and trust. Using natural hand gestures adds energy. Smiling genuinely.
These physical cues help build that trust and connection you mentioned.
According to the guide, absolutely. They make the audience feel more linked to you and your message.
And the final insight is interesting because it's about listening in a guide about speaking.
It is, and it's such a crucial, often overlooked point. Insight 10. Listening is deep communication. Being a good speaker means being a good listener.
Even when you're the one supposedly doing all the talking.
Especially then, maybe. The source explains that listening, whether it's to actual questions during Q&A or listening with your eyes to those nonverbal cues we talked about, helps you understand the audience in real time.
Their needs, their level of understanding.
Exactly. It shows respect, makes them feel heard, and lets you adapt. It turns it from a one-way broadcast into a genuine two-way street.
That link between speaking and listening really reframes the whole thing, doesn't it?
It brings it all together nicely. As the source essentially wraps up, effective speaking isn't some magic gift. It's a skill you develop.
Right. Starting with belief in your message.
Strengthened by practice, shaped by clear and sincere content, and really brought alive through connecting with and paying attention to your audience. The core is always believing you have something valuable to share, and then learning how to share it so people can really hear it.
Okay, so let's bring this back to you listening right now. If you felt that anxiety we talked about at the start, what's the big takeaway here?
Well, I think it's that there's a practical way forward. It doesn't mean becoming a totally different person. It starts small. just believing that what you have to say is worthwhile.
And then building from there. Practice. Focusing on clarity, being sincere, and remembering the audience isn't just a passive recipient.
Exactly. The source really emphasizes that everyone has valuable stories, insights, experiences. Everyone.
And this isn't just about big formal speeches, is it? These ideas apply anytime you communicate.
Oh, absolutely. Explaining something in a meeting, pitching an idea, even just having an important conversation where you want to be understood. It's fundamentally about finding ways to communicate so others truly listen and get it.
It's about finding and using your own authentic voice.
Unlocking the power of your message, yeah.
So, thinking about everything we've pulled from winning over any audience through effective speaking, here's a final thought to chew on. If effective speaking really boils down to sharing your unique, valuable story with sincerity and connecting by being truly present, what's the story or idea you feel you have to share? And based on these principles, what's just one small, imperfect step you could take, maybe even today, to start sharing it so others can listen and understand?